Show up like a boss, building your branding story. Who would like to do that? Hello and welcome to this session. I have with me Lynn, the owner of two photography businesses and ultimately a visual storyteller who understands the power you have to change lives when you make an impact with your brand. Kat is going to take us on a journey to help build our presence wherever we are. Kat, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sigrid. So who am I? I am a photographer, but ultimately a visual storyteller for for brands that want to actually be seen on the world stage. Because we all have an impact here. We're not here in business to just make money. We're all here to have an impact. And telling your story in your unique way is what I love to do. So, I have a background in retail and corporate. I've also, I am a qualified with a degree of graphic design, which helps me understand how you can use your visuals. So when I'm creating your visuals for you, I'm already thinking way ahead of how you're going to use those, even before you even realize. So that's where I come from. And what we're going to cover is understanding your audience and the importance of that, showing up in person, both formal and informal, showing up online in Zoom, chats like today, in your emails and across your whole digital platforms. So, and also I'll finalize that with collaborating with your photographer. If that's not with me, it does not matter. As long as you are connecting with a photographer that can tell your story, that is all I worry about, because I want to ensure that you are coming across in the best way. Your audience sets the stage for your presence. It will help you to understand the type of energy you need to bring, the outfit, the communication style. So 93% of communication is non-verbal. So make sure what you are saying visually is the right thing as well. How are you being perceived is really important. We have an idea of what we look ourselves, but have you ever asked your audience, those who don't even know you, so you can ask a general question to out there saying, hey, you may not even know who I am, but how do I make you feel when you see me? So getting information from those that don't even know you, because what happens is I could ask beautiful people like Sigrid and and go, hey, how do I make you feel when you talk with me? But what you're going to tell me is based on previous experience of working with me and bias. Realistically, you do want to actually get feedback from people who have no idea about who you are, and therefore you're getting genuine or anecdotal evidence of how you're presenting. And keep in mind, though, they're also coming with their own preconceived ideas from whatever history they are bringing to the table. So you can't control that. Just keep that in mind. Be on brand everywhere you go. I think my husband said the other day, we were out in the garden and we just wanted to go down and get some fish and chips. He goes, oh, can you go down and get some fish and chips? I was in a singlet and some thongs and I'm known in my community. He goes, just go down, they won't care. I said, I am not being seen like this. There is no way, right? It is important how you show up in your community as well as when you're presenting on stage. So think about if it's informal, like now, for me, I'm feeling a little bit formal. So I'm going to take this off because I actually don't think I'm going to be connecting with you the way I want. I'm going to take that off right now. However, I'm still on brand. I'm still in my studio. This is actually my studio. And now what I can do, I feel freer. I can move around. It's the energy. So everything about you is your logo, is your language, or what we call in design world, your lexicon. So if you ever get an email from me going, yours truly, kind regards, you go, that is not Kat. I always say, cheers, chat with you more soon, hey, all these sort of things. So your lexicon is how you actually present yourself in your language. And it's actually a very vital document to have. So if you can document your lexicon, what that enables you to do is actually when you're onboarding a VA or even ChatGTP, you can actually teach it your language or your lexicon. So it's really cool to have. It's your colors, it's your attire. It's just those small touches that you can apply to whenever you present yourself, as I said, informal or formal. So keep that in mind. The importance of it, I cannot stress enough. And I'm going to possibly touch on something that's a bit sensitive, but we all make judgments. So that's the elephant in the room. We all think that being judgmental is a bad thing. Yes, to judge someone in a way without being open to possibilities is not a good trait. However, we all make judgments about people whenever we present first up, because we need to understand, do I like you? Do I want to know more about you? Or do I need to be a bit wary of you and I'm going to just step back here and just watch? So how you present is very important in those first 7 seconds of actually meeting someone you don't know or showing up. Even your profile photo that can't allow you to speak needs to connect and have a way to ask them or invite them to go, I want to know more. So I actually was going to collaborate with someone that was going to fill a gap in my business. So technically, if you look at it that way, it's sort of an interview, even though it's just meeting at the coffee shop. I walked past this line of parked cars and there was this car parked. It was an older car, nothing wrong with an older car. However, I swear it had probably 6 months of leaves all over it. It looked as though it had been parked under a tree. It had not been washed for, I don't think, ever. And I remember walking past and going, please don't be the person I'm speaking with. Please, 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 right? Unfortunately, it was. Now, coupled with a few other things, the way that they presented themselves, the way that they actually articulated from a place of lack. So again, their language. I've chosen not to work with them, regardless of their skill. And the number one reason was because if you can't even take the time to wash the car and respect that, how am I going to allow you to come into my business if you don't respect even yourself to show up in a way that's, I can't have people like that in my business. So make sure you are looking at your brand holistically so that you are showing up in the best way possible. So that was quite an extreme, but and it made me feel quite icky, because I'm like, I want to give everyone a chance. However, you've also got to protect your brand. Your brand is who you are, so protect it. And unfortunately, I couldn't allow that person to impact my brand. So that's just one extreme. Your digital presence is also your stage. So in terms of Zoom, make sure, like here, this is all you're seeing of me. I could be wearing whatever below here. But what I would suggest is making sure you do wear a sleeve, especially ladies everyone actually, wearing a sleeved shirt, because if I was to wear something quite skimpy, I don't want to come across as though, what else am I not wearing? So it's about making sure, and I want this to frame my face. I don't want anyone to be thinking, what else is down here? Okay, if this is meant to just support this in this platform, it's about my face and how I'm talking. It's about using consistency as well, consistent tones, especially in your even your signatures. It's about being consistent across all platforms. So yes, you can have various professional photos, but make sure they're consistent in their theming. There's not a disconnect in the way that you are presenting. One's dramatic and one's like, because you're going to be sending mixed messages. So just try and keep that consistency, because that builds trust. And ultimately, in our digital world, we want to keep people feeling as though they can trust us. What we say is what we do. And so on that, please make sure you update your photos every 12 months or every time you change your hair, okay? So because the last thing you want to do, and I'm sure you've heard it all before, you rock up to a meeting or you rock up to an event and they go, that you oh, you are that person. So you can see it, you can feel it, and it's just not it's one more step that you have to try and break down that barrier of trust. You know, if we can make it easy for people to go, oh, yeah, I would work with Kat, you'd get that much quicker to that next part in their customer journey. So make sure you update your photos regularly and keep it fresh from your own personal perspective. How do you feel when you get new photos? You feel invigorated, you feel refreshed, you feel it's like getting new furniture, right? Let's clear out the house, sell all the furniture, and revive the house. Let's do that, especially for 2025, right? Because energy attracts good energy, right? So if you're feeling all energized and that, people are going to be wanting to come into that circle. If you're feeling dull and dreary and all that, you're not going to want to work with, you know, I wouldn't want to work with someone who's feeling stale and feeling as though they're not investing in themselves. When you invest in your brand and your presence, people know that you're going to be there for them and their energy, and you're going to, it's just a flow-on effect. Does everyone agree with that? Who has updated their photos recently? Crickets. Okay, we need to talk. Right. So collaborate with your photographer for success. Share your brand values. So when I'm talking with my clients, I want to know everything about you. I am your storyteller. I need to know all those nuances that makes you different from the next person. Because let's face it, there are plenty of authors out there. There are plenty of brand coaches out there. There are plenty. But what makes you, you? And that's what I have a knack, or that's apparently what my gift is actually understanding who you are and what's your spark, you know? So I'd like to ask you, and put in the chat here, what 3 words would you want your clients to feel about an experience working with you? I need thinking music here. We've got some chats coming in. Happy? Trusted? Yes. Empowered, inspired, and supported. Thanks, Joanne. Yeah. So let's take that example, those 3 words, right? But when I'm talking with you and trying to build that gallery of images of you, we're going to ask you to lean in and really connect with the viewer. So if you're trying to do a headshot or something like that, and you want to come across as though you are going to help empower me, you're going to come in and be really engaged, right? So it's about how do you create a profile suite of images that makes me feel I'm going to be supported, I'm going to be inspired and empowered, right? It's not about doing the power pose and all that sort of thing if that does not suit your brand, okay? So just be aware of the energy, and I'll give some more tips on that later as well. So decide on the look and the lifestyle. You know, do you want lifestyle action shots? Do you want in-studio shots? Do we need to go out to work with clients? So consider the talent that you might need. And when I'm referring to talent, I'm talking about who are your ideal. Yes, I agree. It is a tricky line between professional, even over-empowering versus empowering. Yes. And quite often it is just the way that you use your hands. So the hands are quite often, they hold. So if you were to sit here like this, you can see the whites of my knuckles, right? That says that I'm not relaxed. So I would ask you to have dancer hands and just allow them. Ooh, let me see if I can stand up. Yeah, I am in jeans. So see, I did tell you. But you know, it is just about just changing the way that you look and just moving around. Be aware also the way you position your head is really interesting. So depending on the way the photo comes across, if I go one way, tells a different story to then if I do this. One way can come across as I'm thinking and I'm curious, and the other way is, do you really mean that? Like it's a potentially I'm actually questioning you, right? So one way is, oh, so tell me more. So be aware of also how the positioning, slight positioning can do that. It's fascinating, the body language, and there is such a psychology around that. A psychology of color and psychology of body language is huge, especially in photography, and the way that we can sell ourselves, because that's basically what we're doing in business. We're trying to sell ourselves. So on that, let me have a look where I'm up to. So tips on relaxing during a photo session, because if I could have every time someone said, I don't like getting my photo taken, I would not have to take any more photos. I can tell you now, not at all. Number one, breathe. You are coming to me as a professional photographer to help you shine. So don't be shy. Stand up and actually own your genius. Find your favorite music. What energizes you? Do you need to be energized, or do you actually need to relax? Some people like to feel as though, no, let's get into the move. Whereas some just need to go, let me just zone out. Let me get into it. So what do you need to be able to get into the flow? And have chats with your photographer. Tell them how you're feeling and tell them what you want, because they have got the experience to actually help you on your journey. You're not alone. I can tell you, you're not the first one to have these fears, so it's all good. And actually, practice in the mirror. Role play. We ask our children to pretend that they're nurses and ambulance drivers and firefighters. Well, you pretend to be that power woman or sometimes that fake it till you make it actually works in photography world, because our little imposter syndrome, little demon up here, always comes around when we're trying to step out of our comfort zones. And that's exactly what we're doing. Unless you're a professional model, getting your branding photos is stepping out of your comfort zone. Let's be frank, because you're asking me to see who you are. And it's not often that we actually allow people to really see who we are. So you do need to build up that trust with your photographer. If you don't feel the vibe with your photographer, can I please suggest you actually be honest with them and say, listen, it's just not working, because number one, this is your money. Number two, it's your brand. And if you don't drive with them, they're not going to actually create the photos that you're going to like. And number three, you only do this once every, unfortunately, probably 3 years, if that, even though you should do it every 12 months. So I would actually really make sure, it's so important to connect with your photographer. So I know that was quite quick. I'm just going to close, and then I'm going to open it up, because I'd really like to hear from you some of your experiences and how you would like me to help you for your next session. Show up, shine bright, and stay memorable, right? The fact is, you are investing in your brand. So go in like a boss. Don't tell me all meek and mild and go, oh, I don't know how to do this. I would love you to come into this studio, or me to come into your space, strut your stuff, own who you are, you know your genius, and actually share it with the world. So if you would like any more, so yes, I do food and product photography with Foodie shots, but I also tell the story of those businesses. And in my other brand, which is Sunny and Cat Photography, I do specifically branding photos for amazing, inspirational businesses. So there's a little QR code there. You can inquire with me through my Foodie Shots platform. Connect with me. If you've got any questions, please reach out. And finally, every time you show up, you build your brand. So make it count. So any questions, ladies? I'd love to hear from you.
Let me say thank you first, Kat, for that wonderful, enlightening, and very interesting presentation that you have just shared with us. Showing up like a boss is certainly a power phrase for us that we all want to use, but really building that visual branding story is so, so important. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
I want to also say thank you, Kat, and I'm so pleased I jumped onto this because whilst I understood that you're a photographer and I've been looking for somebody to do my photos, I didn't realize you did them for what I'm looking for. So I will definitely be you. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Mine are probably about 18 months old. And whilst my hair color hasn't changed, I just want to mix it up because I use them constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm huge on brand. And it's just something that's really dear to my heart. So I also feel there's some bigger conversations you and I are going to have. So I'm excited for it.
Well, I think also what I've seen of you, Joanne, is that you've grown even in the last 12 months, right? So that energy needs to be captured in,
Yes.
so, you know, those images that you've got now are beautiful, right? But we all grow, like we grow so much. And therefore even though the photography, you can't physically see it, but when you present and you capture that, you feel it. So it's about feeling the photo. I know that sounds a little bit like an oxymoron because you're meant to see a photo, but you actually can feel it when you capture that spark. And that's the magic of photography, I think. Well, a good photographer.
I really also think your point to that we change as women hair colors, or a lot do. I don't. I have not. This is all natural since it started, so a very long time. But I know a lot of women like to change their hair color and their styles. The color for me to look at someone makes a big difference. If I don't recognize them because of a new color, that is a bit of an obstacle, as you said, around that whole trusting. Do I trust her? Why does she look so different? So really good point. Thanks, Kat. Who else? Any other questions?
Hi, Kat. Thank you very much. I do myself need a photographer. The last time was about 2 or 3 years ago, like you said. But I've got more of a statement or an inquiry than a question. You were talking about judgment. And when you saw the car, or if you saw the car, you wouldn't do business with them. Now, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Because the person, you might go in and the person is absolutely fantastic. And the car has been like that because they were sick, they didn't have the time or anything of that sort. So you completely crossed them out before you saw them.
No, because I didn't realize it was his car because I watched as he left the cafe to see which car it was.
Yeah.
So that was the clincher. So no, there was no confirmation at the beginning before having the conversation with him. It was when he left, it was the confirmation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still disagree. I still agree though, the fact that and that's my way of making sense of that situation is, again, it would not have taken much to put the hose over the car. It wouldn't have taken, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean, but
yeah,
we all have some sort of, I give a person 3 goes. Third, they're not, that's it.
Yeah. No, and you're right. Judgment can be good and bad, but we have to just be aware that there is that judgment there, and sit with it and be aware, okay, am I happy with that judgment, or should I actually change my perception of that and go, oh, that's a little bit harsh, right? So I think it's just being aware that we all make judgments and not just making them absolutes as well. And I think that's something I've always tried to do in business as well. As soon as I say an absolute, I go, oh, is it? Is that not right? So yeah, yes, thank you so much for your comment.
Not at all. Thank you. The rest was absolutely fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
I might give you a call.
Happy to chat.
Yeah.
I
You
could
might,
pick up-
I'll clean my car before you come.
I just won't take photos of your car if it's not washed for you, okay? Because I don't want to represent your brand in that way.
I think just picking up on Mariam's point as well, Kat, as I've got older and I'm at the other end of the scale here, I'm less impressed with, kind of the polished performance, the polished look, the perfect pitch, the perfect that
Yeah.
a lot of us have spent a long time understanding, investing in ourselves and all the rest of it. And I'm just fortunate in my life at the moment. I want to be with people that I feel comfortable with,
Yeah.
that I get to know. And
Yes.
one of the beautiful things about WNA, and certainly over the last 2 years that Cheryl has owned the business, is that we've got to get to know each other's backstories a lot better. Some of the connections that we've had have been so beautiful, and people have shared things at some of those closed sessions that I don't think they ever thought they would share when they joined it, but the conversation just lended itself to that. So I think, I love what you do with your foodie stories. I love the fact that you're a storyteller, and I love the fact that what you're trying to do with your photography is capture the stories of people. And if you get that right, you get the essence of the authenticity of that person. And
Yeah.
I think, like I can't wash my car at the moment. I can't even stick a hose on it. Kind of the hip scenario and my mobility is just a hoot. I could probably drive it through a car wash if there was one close by. But, and I think too, we're age appropriate as well. Like it depends on your target audience. I'm not out there trying to build a brand and, create a big impact. I'm kind of into the ripple effect these days, that as a dream catcher and a dream keeper, I have a comfort zone of my own that I can pick and choose, and that's lovely. But this is one of the beautiful things about just engaging in conversations like this, is that we get to share. And when you were saying, about people needing to wear sleeves, I'm the only one with sleeves on, and the other three have got similar tops on. And I had a bit of a giggle then, around, okay, that judgment scenario is kind of like, they're all professional, they're all comfortable, they're all here, they've
Exactly,
presented
right?
themselves well.
That's exactly it. And
Yeah.
I know each and every one of you beautiful ladies, right?
Yeah.
But it's about trying to connect with those that you don't know, and just being aware that there is that risk of perception.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's about being comfortable. Like, yeah, I could easily wear a singlet around you ladies. And it's about that perception that everyone will make as soon as, if you don't know that person, you do have that 7 seconds to make a judgment. And we all make the judgments, regardless of, yeah.
It's a huge topic, I think. Joanne, you have your input.
I'd like to tap into this judgment piece as well. And I think for me, my analogy about the car is also, I would go and look at people's website. Have they spent time of it? Has it been recently updated? Because for me, I've got a set of values. I've got a set of what I consider to be boundaries. And if the person I'm going to collaborate with, which what you were talking about, is we're going to represent each other's brand. There's a much higher expectation for me. That's just my personal expectation. I collaborate with a lot of people. So I do the work to go, well, have they updated their website, their LinkedIn recently? Because that's important to me and to my brand. I'm going to be in your camp, Kat. I would have made that same instant judgment, whether right or wrong, but that's what is important to me based on my values and for my business and for my brand.
Yeah,
and we're all going to be different, right?
I think there's definitely a lot of discussion that we can have around that. So let's conclude for this session on a positive. I think the main thing, Kat, is in my understanding, what she's bringing about is that visual one, particularly the photo, the shots that we all put online of ourselves. That's the biggie. Again, thank you. And ladies, thank you for your input on this in the discussions that we have. Wonderful.